I'm going to start this week's power rankings with something I noticed last week. So I post a video, right? And it goes live. And within 3 minutes, there are comments on this video about, I don't know how you have this team ahead of this team. You have this team ahead of this team? You're so stupid. Da, da, da. It's like, It's a 25-minute video and you watched it in 3 minutes? No, you're fast forwarding to the end and then finding problems with it. When I do these, I explain. So if you want to just fast forward to the end, I'm not engaging you in conversation anymore. I'm done. I work on this board every single day. Even sick the last couple of days, I have still been moving teams around on this board. And there's one dramatic move that happened last night because other teams ahead of this team won. And it's a dramatic move. And I looked at it this morning and I went, oh, crap. But it stands. So it is what it is. But it's frustrating. It's frustrating when you post a 25, 30-minute video and then people within 2 minutes, 5 minutes are posting complaints about it. Really? You're just fast forwarding to the end, looking at where everybody is and then complaining? All right. Number 31 is Arizona. They're down one spot this week. Of course, Arizona and Buffalo alternate over who the worst team in the league is. Right now it's Arizona. Arizona had some close games this week, but of course, close doesn't count. And Buffalo had a win this week thanks to Linus Ullmark, so they reward him by sending him back to Rochester. Which I guess makes sense, but if they don't win the draft lottery, it's going to look silly. Number 29, despite their win over Columbus, they're still 29th. Now, if they beat Minnesota today, they'll probably move up, but this row is starting to get kind of firmly entrenched in where they are. And Vancouver's spot at 29th. They're 28th in the standings. At least I think they were. They might be 29th now in the standings as well. 28th and moving down 6 spots are the Oilers. And they were 29th coming into last night's game. Yeah. They won their last 2 games. Maybe they're going to move back up. I took a lot of flack for having the Oilers as high as 22 last week. I'll take some flack this week because they're down at 28. Their early results of the week definitely dropped them down, and they moved up a spot because they beat Vegas, but it was in overtime, and you can't undo everything else that happened this week with that one game, and beating Arizona, it's Arizona. Number 27, up one spot from last week, is Montreal. So again, we have 3 Canadian teams down here, all in a row. Kind of sucks. But Montreal moved up a spot. So that's kind of a victory, isn't it? Kinda? Sorta? No? Oh, alright. Number 26, and staying in the same spot they were last week, is Detroit. And I don't think we're in any kind of controversy territory yet. Detroit just, there's been no consistency in their game, and when they look like they're going to pull out of it, they don't. There's a lot of reason to look at the future and say it's going to be pretty good. For instance, maybe Anthony Mantha will get more ice time in the near future. Yesterday's game, he had, I think it was 9.5 minutes in the first 2 periods of the game on the ice. Really? You're goal starved and you're sitting Mantha for parts of the game? That's crazy. Number 25 is Ottawa. They move up 2 spots from last week. So they win a couple and they move up. Did they win a couple or did they win just that one over Toronto? I think they won a couple. Number 24 is Florida, and they move up a spot. So there you go. The bye week didn't really have an effect here. The biggest move in this row is the Oilers, down 6, and I wouldn't be surprised if they end up moving right back up to 22 next week. Although they have the bye week now, so that would be really difficult for them to do. But the board catches up. The board always catches up. Number 23 and down 3 spots from last week is Carolina. Consistency in Carolina. When they lose big. And that's unnerving. You want to talk about unnerving, though? How about Columbus at 22? That loss to Vancouver really hurt them, and they're really making a case for the idea that maybe they're not going to make the playoffs. Just think about that for a second. Columbus, through the first quarter of the season, looked fantastic. Even at the midway mark, we're going, well, they look good. And it's just the wheels have come off. And how? I don't understand what's going on here. I mean, I look at their scoring, and it's they don't have anybody who's putting up great goal totals, other than Josh Anderson. But when Josh Anderson's your leading goal producer, that says something in and of itself. But they weren't getting great goal totals before that, so was Bobrovsky really dragging them that far? Maybe he was. Number 21, and moving up 2 spots from last week, is the Philadelphia Flyers. They've been impressive at times this season. They've been not as impressive at other times this season. Philly is one of those Jekyll and Hyde teams, probably more than almost anybody else in the league. And if they can get on a run, they can be dangerous. Sean Couturier is playing the best hockey of his career. Claude Giroux is back to being Claude Giroux. And there's been a lot of requests for me to do a video on Giroux, and I don't have a problem doing that. Once I'm feeling better, I'm sure we'll be able to knock out a Giroux video. But for Philly, they've been stuck in this row for a while, I believe. Number 20, and up 4 spots from last week, is Pittsburgh. Watch out for Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's won 3 in a row. They play today against the Rangers. They could easily make that 4 in a row and start climbing their way up on this board and into not just a playoff spot, but into contention for a top 3 spot in that division. So for people who are upset, and for Penguins fans are like, well, this isn't the year. Maybe it is. Maybe this is the year again, still. Jeez. Number 19 and down 1 spot is Anaheim. So Anaheim's been playing well, and they're lingering here. But after the win over LA, I'm expecting them to go on a run and end up in this area soon. I just can't see them not ending up in the playoffs. And yet I would say that about Chicago. I would say that about a lot of teams right now. So I think this year the playoffs are going to be the most hotly contested we've seen. And I know what I'm saying. I know exactly what I'm saying there. Number 18, moving up 1 spot, is the Islanders. You could make an argument for Anaheim over the Islanders and leave them both in the same spot as last week. You can make the argument for the Islanders over Anaheim, certainly. But, yeah, the Islanders, to me, are playing well. If they ever get their goaltending to be more consistent, they'll be very, very dangerous. But consistency in net has been their issue. Absolutely has been their issue. They've got to find an upgrade to Thomas Greiss. Last I saw, Greiss had a save percentage of .883. And I don't care how bad your defense is or what's going on, but an .883 save percentage in this day and age, you can't win a game with the save percentage that low. Unless you only allowed like 12 shots and 2 goals, or I don't know, something like that. At 17, moving up 4 spots from last week, Chicago. So the Blackhawks are moving up. Penguins are moving up. It must be the second half of the season. Chicago with an impressive win over Winnipeg. Not Edmonton, Winnipeg. I think the impressive thing, too, with what they're doing is they're doing it without Crawford. So Chicago's staying relevant. They're staying in the hunt without Corey Crawford. I find that very impressive. Number 16, and down 3 spots from last week, San Jose, who got passed. They got passed, and I couldn't move them up based on a 6-5 overtime win over the Arizona Coyotes last night. At 15, this is where everybody gets really angry, down 3 spots, is Toronto. Leave your hate in the comment section below, but Toronto has won 2 of their last 7, and those were both via shootout. The board sees those, and yeah. And the funny thing is, it's been acknowledged on other Sportsnet and TSN programs I've watched lately that Toronto's struggling and they're having problems, but when I do power rankings and I acknowledge it, there's people who get angry about it. I don't know how else to do it, though. I mean, I can't award them phantom points for games they didn't win. Can't award them phantom spots just because they're the Maple Leafs. That's not how this works. Can't. Number 14, moving up 2 spots from last week, is Colorado. The Avs are very close to getting into this, and at this point, I do see them as contenders for a playoff spot again. Like I said, I'm going to be putting about 25 teams in the playoffs this year. Colorado is just playing so well, and they went in and they beat Dallas last night, and they didn't leave any room for error. They didn't leave any room for any doubts that they were the better of the 2 teams, and they're moving up. Number 13, down 2 spots from last week, is St. Louis. The Blues are how would I put this? I just think it's the dog days for them, and I think they miss Schwartz. I think they miss Schwartz quite a bit, as almost any team would. A guy like Jaden Schwartz was putting up points the way he was with him out of the lineup. It's going to cause a lot of issues throughout the lineup. And it's not that St. Louis doesn't have depth. It's that Schwartz is just that good. So that's how I see it anyways. But absolutely, St. Louis is capable of moving back up. The problem is, really, from 20... anybody out of the bottom row could make the playoffs in my eyes. And yeah. There's 23 teams that I'm saying, yeah, they could make the playoffs. Because I'm a nice guy. I want to see teams make the playoffs. Let them all make the playoffs. Maybe that's the Canadian in me. Number 12, moving up 2 spots from last week, Minnesota. So Minnesota and Colorado both move up 2 spots. Showing that the Central Division is really, really quite tough. The lowest rated Central Division team is Chicago at 17th. So that's impressive. The Metro is weakened quite a bit. But as I've said, Pittsburgh's moving their way up. I could see Pittsburgh moving up into the second row as soon as next week. But yeah, Minnesota's been playing really well lately. I know they had that 7-2 egg that they laid against Colorado last week, but that's the exception rather than the rule. They've actually been playing quite well. Number 11, moving down 1 spot from last week, is the Rangers. There's nothing different in the way that I view the Rangers from any other week. There's not really a whole lot for me to say. Good team. Are they a great team? Nah, I don't know. Do I see them going through 4 rounds and winning a Stanley Cup? No, probably not. But, they're going to be there. I think they're going to be in a playoff spot. Number 10, moving down 1 spot from last week, is Dallas. That loss last night to Colorado caused them to drop. So we'll see what happens with Dallas this coming week, because Minnesota and Colorado could very well bump them down to as low as 13th, 14th, or 15th. Because when Toronto comes back from the bye week, if they play well, then they can move up too. I'm over-explaining. I'm over-apologizing. Number 9, down 1 spot from last week, is New Jersey. They're gradually moving down. How far down they go, I don't know. The loss to Philly yesterday was really pretty thorough. But was that Philly playing really well, or was that New Jersey playing poorly? That's really the question. And I think it's probably a combination of both. Philly's capable of being very good, though. Number 8, moving down 2 spots from last week, is Los Angeles. There's a fan base who realizes which teams moved up a lot this week. And they're probably feeling pretty good right now. Probably pretty excited about this. Probably pretty happy. Saying, wow, we moved up a lot this week. How high did we move up? How high did we go? LA's drop comes via the loss to Anaheim. And the team that's at number 7 has moved up 8 spots from last week. Calgary had the benefit of teams ahead of them losing. And they won. They just keep winning. And right now the Flames and the Avalanche are the 2 teams that are probably playing the best hockey during their winning streaks. I understand that Colorado hasn't moved up as far as Calgary, but the dividing line between these teams is small. So basically, once you move up past some of these, it's easier to move up past the others, especially when they're losing. Calgary came into yesterday 10th. Dallas, New Jersey, and LA all lost. And they lost by more than a goal. And they were legit losses. They weren't in overtime or anything like that. So I'm like, all right, well, drop. And Calgary moves up 3 more spots. Based on the fact that Calgary has won 6 in a row. Some very impressive wins in that 6. And there you go. So that's sometimes how the board works. That's why when people said, well, what are you going to do with bye weeks? Nothing. Because you'll still move up or move down based on results. And then once the byes are done at the end of next week, everybody will be back where they should be. There may be some movement on this board that's bye related. I understand why that would upset some people. But I can't stop tracking teams because it's bye. I can't lock them into a spot because they've had a bye week. That's not going to work. I might as well just not have the power rankings for those weeks. Number 6, down 1 spot from last week, is Winnipeg. So Flames fans, you've got a good shot at getting 6 next week if Winnipeg doesn't turn things around and the Flames keep winning. And the Flames have a noon my time start for their game today, and we'll see whether or not Calgary can perhaps be 6th by the end of today. But of course, I don't do daily power rankings. That would just be too much. It'd be too much. Number 5, moving up 2 spots from last week, is Nashville. And now we're into the spot where teams are pretty much like the bottom row. You've got teams that are just kind of here. Top row, you've got teams that are just kind of here. They are the better teams in the league, and it would take a bit for them to drop if they were going to. But Nashville moves up 2 spots from last week. Number 4, moving down 1 spot from last week, is Boston. They won last night, but it was a shootout. So to me, that's not. So they moved down 1 spot from last week. Number 3, moving up a spot from last week, is Washington. Capitals have been consistently good, and I could see them being 2nd next week in this thing. Absolutely. Because number 2, which is Tampa, has looked mortal. But number 1, Vegas. So that loss in overtime against Edmonton last night, is that a gutsy win for Edmonton, or is that a sign that there's some kind of a chink in the armor for the Golden Knights? And I say that because, we keep waiting, right? I understand that Vegas fans don't like to hear it. But for traditional hockey fans, we just keep thinking, well, they can't keep doing this, right? They can't keep winning like this, right? So there you go. And in regards to the awards, Tampa Stanley Cup, Vasilevsky, likely I would still pick him for Vezina. I'm still picking Ovechkin for the Rocket. The Art Ross, Still taking Kucherov, but I'm going to change one prediction. Based on what's gone on the last couple of weeks, and if they make the playoffs, I'll say Johnny Hockey for the Hart. Oh, and this is week 14, so ignore this. There we go. Week 14. Norris, still Doughty, I guess. The Norris, though, there's so many good defensemen that could get it. And for the Calder, Matthew Barzal keeps having these highlight reel games, meaning he'll suddenly score 5 points. He might go quiet for the next few games points-wise, and then he'll score 5 points. And he plays on the East Coast. That's an advantage for him in that a lot of the voters for the awards will see him more than they'd see Brock Besser. And he does have some highlight reel goals, highlight reel assists, of course. And he was known primarily for his assists, and yet he's been scoring goals this year as well. So those are the two awards that over the last week I've said, I don't know. I've been looking at this board and going, well, I pretty okay with my predictions about the rest of it, but those two, yeah, I'll probably change them based on current results and who I think the MVP and best rookie are right now. Brock Besser didn't have a bad week. He never has a bad week, but Barzal's was better, and Barzal, I could see him winning the Calder. You guys can let me know what you think in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And thanks for reaching the end of another Power Rankings video. As I said at the start of this, for people who are going to argue with Power Rankings within 5 minutes of this thing being posted, I'm not going to pay any attention to those comments at all, because it means you fast forwarded to the end and you didn't hear my explanation for any of the Power Rankings. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.